Hello folks, this is Mike. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to go over how to plan, lay out, and properly install drawer knobs and drawer pulls. Now there's a number of ready-made jigs on the market that will do just this. And if you have a production shop or if you have a lot of drawers of the same size to do, they can be a real time saver. But if you only do a few drawers a year, don't waste your money. Today I'm going to show you how to do it the old-fashioned way. It's a simple process, and I'll take you through it step by step. And you'll be surprised at how much quicker it is when you only have a few drawers to do. So stay tuned, and I'll show you how. Now we're going to be installing knobs both on applied or loose fronts and also on an assembled drawer in the cabinet. But what about those long drawers that have two knobs or pulls? I mean, how close to center can you put them? How far out can you put them? Well, over the years, I've developed a couple of simple rules I use myself for knob placement, and I'll share those with you. But first, let's get started with our first demonstration. We're going to pretend that this piece of scrap is our drawer front, and we're going to put a single knob hole in the very center of it. Our first step is to find the length of the board, which is 19 inches in my case. I'm going to take half of that, which is 9.5, and I'm going to mark it in the center. Now I'm going to double check from the other direction and put another mark. And I've got a little bit of overlap here. I'm just going to draw a line between these two marks, and that's going to be pretty much center. The board is 4 inches wide, so we're going to reset our square at 2 inches and mark that across the width of the board. Use a punch with a fine tip, or if you don't have a punch, you can always use a larger finish nail, like a number 8, 10, or 12, something like that. Center the punch where the lines cross and tap, and this will give us a centering point for our drill bit. Before we drill though, I'm going to turn the board over and I'm going to position a piece of blue tape and rub it in place, and this will help prevent tear out. I'm going to turn it back over and clamp a backer board to it. Good and tight. So here's an example of tear out, and I'm sure you can understand why we want to avoid that. Okay, so let's remove our clamps and our tape, and it's pretty doggone smooth. There's just a little bit of fuzziness around the hole, and that will sand out easily. Now we can test fit our knob. And remember that the flange around the bottom of the knob is going to cover any small imperfections you might have around the hole. And as you can see, it looks like we're dead center. As a matter of preference, I always like to put my knob holes in the very epicenter of the drawer front. However, you can move your knobs up or down on the drawer to suit your needs. However, I don't think it ever looks good to have the knobs off center lengthwise. These are the drawer fronts for an end table I'm building. We're going to use a 2-hole pull on these drawer fronts. Now this is known as a bale pull. You'll notice it comes in 3 parts and it's hinged in the middle. And these are no harder to install than a one-piece knob, so don't worry about that. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and find center, just like in the first example. Now extend the center line on both sides of the mark. Now these first 2 steps are necessary even if you're using a manufactured jig like mine. Now one nice thing about the jig is that the double knob holes are already machined into it, but it still has to be carefully set up. It has to be centered both horizontally and vertically. It has to be tightened and clamped to the board before you can drill your holes. It's an awful lot of setup for just 1 or 2 drawers. Now when you buy a 4-inch knob, say, what that means is that the knob is measured 4 inches from center to center of the screw holes. So to position your knob holes, you need to divide that by 2 and measure 2 inches from center in each way on that line and mark it. Now it does get dicey when it's a fractional number, like we're using 3 3/4 inch knob pulls here. And I know because I did the math that that's 1 7/8 inches. So I'm going to take my centering rule here, and I'm going to mark 1 7/8 inches on each side of center. Now we can punch that, attach our blue tape and our backer board and drill it out just like before. Now if you struggle with fractions or you just don't want to do the math, you can go to the App Store on your phone or PDA and type in fraction calculator, and you can download an app that'll do the work for you. So we can go ahead and test fit our knob, and as you can see, it fits perfectly. And you can see how we install the loose fronts. I'm using a special homemade drawer jig here to position them. Now I will put a link in the video description for another one of my videos that shows you how to make and use this jig. The jig is designed to automatically hold the drawer front at the right height. Then you just use your combo square to position it side to side. And then clamp the front onto the drawer box. Now I'm going to go ahead and run in my mounting screws for the back. Now go ahead and attach your backer board, and then you can simply drill through the holes that we've already tapped in the drawer front. Then all you have to do is attach your knobs. Now be aware that you'll probably need longer screws with this type of construction. Now if we work on an assembled drawer, the procedure is only slightly different. So before we try to draw marks on our drawer front, I'm going to install a piece of blue tape, or you could use masking tape here, to write on. Because one thing, you can't see the pencil marks on a finished drawer. Second, you might scratch it. And speak of scratching, I'm going to go ahead and put blue tape anywhere that my combo square might come into contact with the drawer face. Now I like to use a fine tip permanent marker here to draw the lines up, because they're very visible, but you can use a ballpoint pen. Now it's even more important now that you go ahead and use a backer board on the back of your drawer front. When you drill through, any tear out will be visible. So what about those longer drawers? How do we decide where to position our knobs or pulls on them? Now so far as I know, there's only a couple of real rules about this. One is that for drawers over 24 inches long, you probably should put 2 knobs or 2 pulls. But remember, rules are meant to be broken. Look at this antique reproduction. Now look at the top drawer. You'll notice the drawer features 2 knobs. The odd thing is this drawer is only 18.5 inches long. They just used little small knobs. And they also put them above center, which you know I don't like. And look at this bakery center. The top drawer is 30 inches long, but they only use 1 long knob. It's all a matter of personal preference and design vision. The look works in both of these cases. The other is the rule of thirds. Now imagine your drawer front divided off into 3 equal sections. And I've done that with my mock-up piece here. And we would never put our knobs in the middle section of the drawer. They would have to go somewhere in the outside 2 sections. This outside line represents my own rule, which is not official, but I call it the rule of 8. What we do is we simply take the board length and divide by 8. And in my case, that's 30-inch long board. It gives us 3 3/4 inches. And then I take my combo square and I would plot that distance from the end of the board. And what this means is that we do not put our knobs or pulls in this outside area or section of the drawer front. Look at this dresser drawer. Now I use the rule of 8 here, and I position the outside screw hole in my knob just inside that line. And really, this is my favorite placement for these 2-hole knobs. Let's go ahead and install our knobs on our sample board. Now, using the rule of 8, I'm going to first position them at that 8 line. And you see that looks pretty good, but I'm going to bring those in to 4.5 inches from the board edge, which is how I did that dresser example I showed you. And to me, this position is very pleasing to the eye. Let's turn over to the clean side of the board and let's do our layout. Now you can see I've already put some guide marks on this side of the board too. I'm going to draw a vertical line 4.5 inches from each end of the board. Now I'm going to draw my center line starting at that vertical line and pulling inward toward the middle of the board. The intersection of the 2 lines is where the outer screw hole of your knob goes. Now I'm going to measure back in 3 3/4 inches from that intersection and mark the second intersection, or the second screw hole. Now you can punch all 4 intersections. Go ahead and get set up using the techniques we demonstrated earlier, and you can go ahead and drill your 4 screw holes. Once that's done, we can go ahead and install our knobs or pulls. Just be sure to be careful and don't cut corners. I know this isn't rocket science, but remember, you can't undrill a hole once it's in the drawer, so be careful. And all that care and planning paid off. It looks good, doesn't it? Here's my new end table in this new home in my living room. And look at these knobs, didn't they turn out great? So folks, be sure to like our video And also be sure to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, be sure to ring that bell. And until next time, thanks for watching.